Okay, good evening all, welcome back to the channel. More jukebox tinkering to go on, and if we look here you can see I've got it stripped out and it's on its side at the moment, and there's a reason for that. I've just had another eBay thing arrive. There we go, I've got a set of castors. £7 off Tinterwebs. Hopefully these will do the job. They're supposed to be good for taking a high weight, I guess we'll find out. So yeah, that's the bottom of the jukebox. So 4 castors to go on. I'm also going to add some strength into this as well. Some strips of wood, like a sort of skirting that's going to go all the way around and possibly across the middle as well, just to give that bottom bit a bit of extra bracing, because it's got to take a lot of weight and I don't want that MDF to flex at all. So let's chop up some bits of wood and screw some castors on. There we go, that's the bracing and the castors put on. I've had a good feel of it. I don't think it needs any more across the middle of the timber. It feels very firm now. So let's get it right end up. That's a lot more manoeuvrable now, that'll help. Next thing I think, I'm going to get the router along here, get a nice curved edge along the front of this, I think. That looks a lot nicer now, it's all smoothed off. However, I've made an executive decision in that this crossmember piece here, it was screwed on the inside to try and avoid having any visible screws on the outside. However, because this plywood is only about 12mm thick, you can't really get a very solid fixing, and this is actually quite an important structural part of the jukebox that stops all this stuff from flexing. So I'm going to have to do it. I have to have screws on the outside going in, because this really needs to be sturdy, and right now it isn't. Okay, that's going nowhere. There we go, that looks better already. You probably can't really see it from the video, but from here it just softens the lines. It's just a small detail, but makes all the difference up close. Now, while I've got the main panel off, now's as good a time as any to carry on with the selection system and the indicator display. We got the selectors on the other day, but we've still got this little box of tricks, which is the record now playing indicator. I've saved the piece of smoked glass that came off the original jukebox along with the plastic mount for it, so that will go back in there. This bit then attaches to that and it's screwed on, so the screw holes are already there for it. That's why I want to recycle this. So I think the plan is I'm going to hacksaw off or cut off in some manner this bit here, and that will give me a base that I can screw to the framework, and hopefully I can mount the display board in. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to work yet. I've got a rough idea. We'll see how we get on. Cutting this plastic with a angle grinder is a very smelly way of doing it, but it does give you a good cut, it seems. So there we go. That's that bit, recycled from the original jukebox. Indicator display, pops into there, screws on, there and there. And that, cut to fit exactly between the frame. And all I have to do is put a couple of aluminium right angle strips in there to hold it in place. Nice and simple. Well, now we've got the cabinet looking something like, it's time to turn my attentions back to the record changer itself. In particular the mounting for it. I lashed together a wooden frame for it a couple of weeks ago just so I could sort of size it up and do a bit of work on it. But the time's come to actually make the frame that's going to go in the cabinet. Now, because the emphasis on this jukebox is about having a visible play mechanism, what I want to do is mount this thing in such a way that I can get up as high as possible up to the visible play window without actually fouling anything. And at first glance you'd say, well, we'll just have the window sort of here so it's nice and close to the turntable, but of course you've got to take account for this bow that comes up. So what I've done, I've just disconnected the gripper motor, just loosened a couple of bolts so that this gear can run free, so I can turn this by hand now. There we go. I'll turn that up, get it to its highest point, which is there, and now I can measure from the top of the gripper bow to the bottom of the mech and see how much room I've got to play with in the cabinet, and then I shall cut a set of legs to fit accordingly. Yes, Bugsy. And I think the cat's going to help. So here it is in the cabinet, and with the gripper bow up in the air, you can see as I shut the lid, you can see the top of the lid there, that's quite a gap there. I'm making that just under 7 inches, so I'm going to say we'll raise this 6 inches to get it a bit closer to the window. Well, there it is, mounted in its final resting place. As you can see, it's a lot higher up than it used to be, which means that when you're looking through the window, there's going to be more to see going on than there was before. Now, the trade-off with that is that this window here, you can't really see a great deal other than the popularity wheel. So I think what I'm going to put in here is a piece of translucent plastic. I can do my own logo or some sort of writing, another piece of clear perspex over the top of that, and maybe some sort of light show behind it. I think I'll make a bit of a feature of it. This is surprisingly heavy with all 4 speakers attached to it now. But it fits beautifully. Alright, time to tackle this big hole in the front. There we go, let's chop that up. I'm so glad I bought this thing. I bought this saw especially for this job, and it's absolutely worth its weight in gold. It saved me a fortune, and you can always get a nice clean cut out of it. There we go, one light box. So the inside of that will be painted white, some LED tape to light it up. All that remains now because I need to cut out some acrylic to go into this front window. So it's a nice simple fix to hold the plastic in place. The little wooden fixings have left enough room so I can get some LED tape all along the side of this, and that'll light up nice once the woodwork has been painted white to reflect it. And we have a nice little light box there. Right, well that's the front just about sorted for now. The next big part of the project is fitting the power supply and the amplifier and the various other modules that have got to go inside. Now the power pack and the amp are quite large heavy modules and they go against the back of it, same as they did in the old Rock-Ola. And the back panel of mine is actually two separate boards, which wasn't particularly by design, but it's proved to be quite useful because it means I can take the top one out to work on it, which is going to make life a lot simpler. Oh, and of course having it on wheels now also makes the job a bit simpler. Right then, one back of jukebox. I've rescued this piece of metal that came out of the original Rock-Ola. This was here to support the original power supply and amp. And that goes on something like that. So this will get screwed to this section of the backboard. And then we have to cut out holes here and here to support the back of the power pack and the amp. So I can copy those holes from under here. That's where they were in the original Rock-Ola. I should be able to figure this out. Right, holes cut out, let's stick it back in the jukebox. Oh, good evening jukebox fans. The work continues this evening. Tonight I'm going to be concentrating again on this front panel speaker thing. A couple of days ago when I was moving it, we had a big crash and I thought, what the hell was that? Oh shite, what was that? I thought it was just the credit unit had fallen out because I'd left it loose, but what had actually happened was this thing had fallen forward onto the floor because there was nothing securing it yet because I haven't fitted the hinges and the stays for it yet. Unfortunately what he's done, if I lift this up, very heavy lump that it is, it's damaged both the speakers unfortunately. It's smashed the terminals off. Fortunately the speaker itself has survived, it's just the terminals that have broken, so I'll have to make something to remedy that. But that has spurred me on tonight. Put that down. We're going to fit some hinges and catches to the speaker panel so that can't happen again. Now what I've got, these are the original hingy bits that came off the old Rock-Ola 456. So I've saved those, we're going to mount these to the new cabinet. So we've got two of these and they're just going to screw into the bottom there. Just need to mark that and drill it and screw them in. And likewise the other bit, which mounts onto the bottom of that baseboard there. So if I get this piece of timber here, if I put that there, that will simulate that board. And that's going to sit there. Just need to clear that screw hole, and I'll say, once marking up, that's one. And that's another one. There we go. So that's the bottom hinges put in. All I've got to do now is add some bolts, one for that side, one for that, so the top can't come open without it being asked to. I have somewhere got a couple of these Drawbolt things, so I'm going to mount these to the sides. However, the timber along the side is quite thin, so I'm going to add some bits of wood to the side. So a bit there, and the Drawbolt goes between. So just chop up a few little bits of wood. There we go, that's one of them in. That should hold it tight. I would have done the other one as well. In fact, I've got as far as doing the woodwork for it, but I seem to have lost the Drawbolt. It's around here somewhere, I'm sure it'll turn up. Right, next job on the list. I need to cut a hole in the back of it to let the power cable through. Right, that's the power cable in. Next challenge tonight, I have this. Now this is the screen and some of the control bits off an internet radio that lives on my bedside table, but I've decided to cannibalise it to stick inside the jukebox. What this will give me is Bluetooth connectivity, USB playback, internet radio, various bits of, even DAB radio if I really want it. What I'm planning to do is mount it underneath this, what will be the sort of smoke glass effect thing next to the indicator lights. So when it's not being used, you won't see it, nobody will ever know it's there. But if I flick a switch on the side, what is a traditional 70s jukebox suddenly becomes ready for the 21st century. Because frankly, I've gone to all this trouble to make it. I want to be able to play as much music as I can of the thing, but I still want it to look original and not messed about with. So this will be my little stealth way of getting digital music through it. But I've got to find a way of mounting it. Right, there's a few ways I could do this, but I think this is going to be the best. This is the indicator lights for the record now playing. I'm thinking a piece of right-angled aluminium bracket bolted to the side of this screen, and then we'll make that up against the side of the indicator lights, and that'll hold it flush against the perspex. Let's give it a go. Okay, fast forwarded through a bit of that because it would have been very dull to watch, but we've got this mounted on a piece of right angled aluminium. That's in nice and firm, that's going nowhere. Then to support it, we've got another bit of wood here. That's going to sit in like that. And then the other circuit board that goes with that can be mounted onto that piece there. Just like that. There we go, that's what it looks like with it fitted in. So if we go in close, there we go. So you can see this little internet radio, it's got all sorts of options for radio, digital radio, you can plug auxiliaries into it, it's got Bluetooth, the phone, all that kind of malarkey. So yeah, I think that'll work nicely. And of course with the screen switched off, it's not going to show that it's even there. Right, well as you can see, most of the component parts are actually in the jukebox now. We've got the record changer mech, of course, power supply, amplifier, selectors, indicators, Bluetooth bits, we've even got the credit unit down there, speakers are in. So just to prove that everything fits, the only thing left to do now is this little box of tricks that hides the selection logic. I'm trying to keep everything in much the same position as it was on the original Duke, just because of the cable lengths of the interconnecting cable that came with it. So this needs to be in this area somewhere, and I think I'm going to have to put it against this side panel here. So I'm going to have to chop up a block of wood for that to sit on, and then that can be screwed to the plywood. And there we are, one selector box of logic installed into the Duke. And that is pretty much everything. That's the lot, that's all the bits in now, so all that remains now, I think it's now time to take all the bits out of it again, remove the lids, remove the front panel, and now we've got an empty box, I've got to get some white paint in here so that when I get the LED tape in, it'll have something to reflect off and we should get much better internal lighting. So having gone to all this trouble to build it, once again, time to take it apart again.